we have this huge number of people who are still unvaccinated. And then Pfizer at the same time is asking about approval for a booster shot. CDC and FDA so far are reluctant to say that's immediately necessary. What's the science here? Will we need a booster shot at some point, even if we don't need it right now?
Nobody really knows about whether booster shots will be needed. At the present time, I think it's fair to say they are not needed. But when you look ahead, going down the next 6 or 12 months, you have to consider that that might be necessary for two reasons. One is that the immune response to any vaccination can't be predicted to last for life. It occasionally does, like the measles vaccine is really good at that. But most of them do, over the course of time, lose a little bit of their potency. That's why you have to get a tetanus shot every 10 years. If you stepped on a rusty nail, you'd have to look and see, is it my time? And the same may well turn out to be true with these vaccines against COVID-19, because we have been looking at the people who got immunized earliest, which were those in the clinical trials that started a year ago. And there is a gradual decrease in the level of their neutralizing antibodies. It's still at a very good level to be protective. We're not worried yet, and it's good enough to even deal with this Delta variant, which is stressing the immune system a little bit to recognize, but we're okay right now. But I could not tell you that 6 or 12 months from now, those levels might actually drift down into a zone where you couldn't be so confident that that person is protected. On top of that, there is this issue of whether there are other variants out there that we haven't yet seen arrive in significant numbers in our country. We're okay so far with Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta. So far, the vaccines cover those. But what's coming next? There is a Lambda in South America that I'm concerned about, that we don't know quite as much about in terms of how the vaccines will work for it, although the early evidence suggests it should be okay. And who knows what comes after that? And eventually, anybody who studies viral evolution will tell you we may encounter a virus that is so different in terms of its spike protein that the vaccine-induced antibodies don't stick to it as effectively anymore, and then a booster would be necessary. Either a booster of the original vaccine, which turns out to be pretty good at spreading its capability against other variants, or maybe even a booster that's specifically designed against the one that we're most worried about. So Pfizer has been looking at this, so is Moderna, so is NIH, believe me. And we don't want to be caught by surprise here. If there's going to be a need for boosters, we want to have everything ready to go. There is some data, although very early and somewhat sketchy, from Israel to suggest maybe there's starting to be an issue with the Delta variant, which has completely taken over Israel, and people who were immunized in terms of protection against illness. Although, again, the people who are getting those breakthroughs are mildly ill for the most part. But that's still early to tell. CDC believes they will have better data about the US in the fairly near future. We'll have to look at that pretty closely. But I think Pfizer got a little bit ahead of their skis here in making a public announcement about their plans to file for approval of a booster. It's really FDA and CDC, with some help from NIH, that needs to make that kind of judgment. And they're really clear. We do not need to have boosters offered right now to people who've been fully vaccinated. They should be in good shape.